Karen Mitchell watched her daughter Zoe sprint down the soccer field, easily outpacing the other 12-year-olds. A small smile crossed Karen's face as Zoe's foot connected with the ball, sending it soaring into the goal. The other parents cheered, but Karen simply nodded. She expected nothing less from her oldest child. "Good positioning, Zoe," Karen called out as the team gathered around her. "Remember to keep your eyes scanning the whole field." The coaching advice came naturally to her, though it had been 8 years since she'd left the Marine Corps, where she had served as a scout sniper with 4 deployments under her belt. 6 miles away, Frank Mitchell pushed a shopping cart through the grocery store while his son Noah and daughter Lily argued about which cereal to get. "But Dad, this one has more sugar," 5-year-old Lily said, holding up a colorful box with cartoon characters. Frank shook his head. "And that's exactly why we're not getting it." His large hands gently took the box from her and returned it to the shelf. Though he now wore scrubs to work as a pediatric nurse, his forearms still bore the faded tattoos from his Army Ranger days, including the unit insignia and the medical caduceus that marked his former role as a combat medic. "How about we get the oatmeal instead," he suggested. "I'll add fresh berries to make it sweet." Noah, now 8, nodded seriously. "Oatmeal has more protein. It's better for building muscles." He flexed his skinny arms, making Frank laugh. Neither parent noticed the strange shimmer in the air outside both locations. At the soccer field and the grocery store, invisible scanners were taking readings, identifying their targets with cold precision. The Zelkorian Special Forces commander, Vex Thur, studied the data streams from orbit. His scaled fingers tapped against the control panel as images of the Mitchell children appeared on screen. "Confirm targets," he ordered. 3 immature humans, offspring of civilian nurturers, minimal security risk. His lieutenant nodded, the purple ridges on his head rising slightly. "The female parent appears to be an education specialist in physical movement. The male parent is a medical attendant for young. Neither possesses combat capabilities according to their occupation data." "Perfect," Vex Thur said. "Begin the extraction. Remember, the Council wants the specimens undamaged." At the soccer field, practice had just ended. Karen was helping collect the training cones when the air suddenly distorted around the children. 3 Zelkorian soldiers appeared, their armored forms shimming into visibility as their cloaking fields deactivated. Before Karen could react, one of them had grabbed Zoe. "Mom!" Zoe screamed, struggling against the alien's forearmed grip. Karen dropped the cones and sprinted toward her daughter, but the aliens and Zoe vanished in a flash of blue light before she could reach them. A small metallic device fell to the ground, where they had stood. At the same moment, Frank was loading groceries into their car when Noah shouted, "Dad, look!" Frank turned to see 2 tall figures in strange armor approaching. Their inhuman faces were partly hidden behind breathing apparatus, but their intent was clear as they moved directly toward the children. "Get in the car now," Frank yelled, stepping between the aliens and his kids. One alien raised what looked like a weapon. Frank lunged forward, his old combat training kicking in, but a pulse of energy hit him squarely in the chest. He fell to the ground, temporarily paralyzed, but conscious enough to watch helplessly as the aliens grabbed Noah and Lily. "Daddy!" Lily cried, reaching toward him as they were carried away. A blue light surrounded them, and then his children were gone. When Frank could move again, he found only tire marks on the pavement and a strange metallic dust where the aliens had stood. His hands shook as he called Karen. 20 minutes later, they reunited at their home. Karen's face was ashen as she burst through the door. "They took Zoe," she said, her voice tight with controlled panic. Frank nodded grimly, holding up the strange communication device he had found. "They got Noah and Lily too, but they made a mistake, Karen." "What's that?" she asked, her eyes hardening as she examined the alien technology. "They should have taken us instead of our children," Frank said. "And they really should have killed us when they had the chance." Karen turned the alien device over in her hands. The metal was cool and smooth with strange symbols etched into its surface. Frank paced the living room, his phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, officer, all 3 of our children," Frank said, his voice tight. "No, we didn't see who took them. Please, you need to send someone now." He hung up and looked at Karen. They're sending a patrol car. They think it's a regular kidnapping. Karen didn't respond. She pressed a hidden catch on the device and it split open, revealing a pulsing blue light inside. "This is Zelkorian tech," she said quietly. "I saw it during my last deployment. The mission they told us was a terrorist cell in the mountains." She looked up at Frank. "It wasn't terrorists. It was first contact." Frank's eyes widened. "You think aliens took our kids?" "I know they did. Same way I know the police can't help us." Karen placed the device on the coffee table. "This is a communicator, military grade. They dropped it during the abduction." Frank sat heavily on the couch. "I saw something too. During my time with the Rangers. A medical evacuation that wasn't human. They swore us to secrecy." He reached for the alien device. "If this is Zelkorian, that means they're part of the Galactic Confederacy. The ones who classify Earth as a death world," Karen finished. "That's what they called it in the briefing." The doorbell rang. Frank went to speak with the police officers while Karen quickly hid the alien technology. When he returned 10 minutes later, his face was grim. "They took a report. Said they'd look into it. They think it's a normal kidnapping." Karen nodded, already pulling out her phone. "I'm calling Winters." Admiral Lisa Winters had been Karen's commanding officer during the classified joint operations with alien representatives. The call connected after 4 rings. "Mitchell." "It's been years," the Admiral said. "My kids have been taken, ma'am. By Zelkorians." A long pause followed. "You're certain?" "Positive. They left behind a communicator. Frank's kids were taken too." "Frank, your husband was Army, right? The Ranger medic?" "Yes, ma'am." Another pause. "You're not the only ones. 12 families worldwide. All children. All parents with military backgrounds but currently in civilian jobs." Karen's knuckles turned white around the phone. "Why?" "Intelligence suggests it's a scientific study. They're taking immature Deathworlders for research. They specifically targeted what they thought were non-combatant families to minimize resistance." "They made a mistake," Karen said coldly. "Listen carefully, Mitchell. I can't help you officially. The government is negotiating through diplomatic channels, but it could take weeks. My children don't have weeks." "I know. That's why I'm sending coordinates to an impounded Zelkorian shuttle. Security code to access it. And last known coordinates of the main vessel." Frank watched Karen's face as she listened, her expression hardening. "Thank you, Admiral," Karen said finally, ending the call. "Well?" Frank asked. "The government knows. They're negotiating. But Winters is giving us a chance to get our kids back ourselves." She showed him the message on her phone with the coordinates. "We have a ship." Frank nodded, already moving toward their bedroom. He pulled up the floorboard under their bed, revealing a hidden compartment with 2 locked cases. He entered the combination and opened them. Inside one was Karen's custom sniper rifle and sidearm. The other contained his field medical kit and service pistol. "I hoped we'd never need these again," he said quietly. Karen checked her weapon with practiced hands. "How long will it take us to reach the coordinates?" 3 hours to the shuttle location. After that, depends on how fast their ships are. In the darkness of space aboard the Zelkorian vessel, Zoe Mitchell huddled with her younger siblings in a sterile holding cell. Noah was quietly crying while Lily slept fitfully. "It's going to be okay," Zoe whispered, though she wasn't sure herself. "Mom and Dad will find us." A Zelkorian guard passed by their cell, glancing in with 3 curious eyes. "Your parental units cannot help you," the alien said in oddly accented English. "They are simple civilian nurturers. By the time they notify your planetary authorities, you will be beyond their reach." Zoe met the alien's gaze steadily. "You don't know our parents." The guard made a dismissive sound and moved on. In the darkness, Zoe whispered to her brother. "They really should have done better research." The abandoned military hangar stood silent in the desert night. Karen and Frank approached cautiously, each carrying a small backpack of supplies. The chain-link fence posed no challenge to them. Frank boosted Karen over, then climbed after her, with the quiet efficiency of someone who had done this many times before. "Security camera at 2 o'clock," Karen whispered. Frank nodded and threw a small device toward it. The camera sparked once and went dark. "Admiral Winters said the shuttle is in Hangar C," Frank said, consulting the map on his phone. They moved like shadows across the concrete, years of training returning instantly. The large door to Hangar C was locked with an electronic keypad. Frank pulled out a small device Admiral Winters had provided and attached it to the panel. After 30 seconds, the door clicked open. Inside sat what looked like a smooth oval pod about the size of a small bus. Its metallic surface gleamed dully in the dim light. "Zelkorian Scout Shuttle," Karen said, running her hand along its side. "Impounded 3 years ago after it crashed in Nebraska." She found a nearly invisible seam and pressed her palm against it. "Winters said the access code is 7293 in their numerical system." Karen pressed a sequence of alien symbols, and a door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the shuttle was cramped but efficiently designed, with seats that adjusted to fit human bodies. Frank examined the control panels. "Simpler than I expected. Almost like they designed it for humans to use." "They did," Karen said. "This was part of a cultural exchange program that got shut down. The governments were planning to reveal alien contact eventually." She sat down at what appeared to be the pilot's station. "I had 2 weeks of training on one of these." Frank raised his eyebrows. "You never told me that." "Classified," Karen said with a small smile. "But I guess that doesn't matter now." While Karen familiarized herself with the controls, Frank checked their weapons and supplies. He had packed medical equipment for both humans and non-humans, knowledge from his time treating alien visitors proving useful now. "Engines online," Karen announced. The shuttle hummed to life. "Coordinates are locked in. We're looking at a 7-hour journey if this thing is as fast as I remember." The roof of the hangar opened automatically as the shuttle rose. Within minutes, they had cleared Earth's atmosphere, the blue planet shrinking behind them. "I never thought I'd be in space," Frank said quietly. "Especially not like this." Karen's face was grim as she accelerated the shuttle. "If they've hurt our children, they'll wish they never heard of Earth." In the vastness of space, aboard the main Zelkorian vessel, Commander Vexthur received a report from his lieutenant. "Sir, our sensors detect an unauthorized shuttle has departed the human planet. Its trajectory suggests it is following our course." Vexthur's ridged brow furrowed. "Human authorities should have no knowledge of our mission." "What type of vessel?" "One of our own scout shuttles, sir. It appears to be one of the craft we left behind during the cultural exchange." "Impossible," Vexthur said. "Those vessels were disabled, and no human could pilot one without extensive training." "The shuttle is gaining on us, sir. Current speed suggests it will intercept us in approximately 6 hours." Vexthur made a dismissive gesture with 2 of his forearms. "A single shuttle poses no threat to this vessel. Continue monitoring but maintain course to the research station." "Yes, Commander." In the holding area, Zoe had organized the children into a small resistance group. There were 12 human children in total, each taken from different families. "My mom and dad know about aliens," she told the others quietly. "They fought alongside them once." A boy named Sam looked skeptical. "How do you know that?" "I found my mom's secret files once," Zoe said. "She was a sniper in the Marines, and my dad was a ranger medic. They kept their old gear hidden under the floorboards." Lily tugged on Zoe's sleeve. "Will they come for us?" "Yes," Zoe said firmly. "And when they do, these aliens better run." Noah had been peering through the energy field that contained them. "The guards change every 4 hours, and they're taking kids out one by one for tests." "What kind of tests?" a girl named Penny asked fearfully. "Just scans," said another boy who had returned. "They measured my strength and reflexes. They kept saying I was strong for a nurturer offspring." Zoe smiled grimly. "They think our parents are just teachers and nurses and office workers. They have no idea what's coming for them." Back on the shuttle, Karen and Frank studied the schematics of the Zelkorian vessel that Admiral Winters had provided. The holding cells will be here, Karen said, pointing to a section of the ship. We'll need to access through the maintenance ducts. Frank nodded, checking his medical supplies one more time. 7 children to rescue. Are you ready? Karen loaded her rifle, with practiced precision, always. The Zelkorian scout ship hung in the darkness of space, its crew unaware of the approaching danger. Inside the small vessel, 5 Zelkorian soldiers went about their duties. They were an advance team, tasked with ensuring the path to the research station remained clear. Karen guided their shuttle alongside the larger scout ship, careful to remain in its sensor blind spot. Frank studied the hull through specialized goggles. There's the docking port, he said, pointing to a faint outline on the Zelkorian ship. Just like in the schematics, Karen nodded. Remember, we need at least one of them able to talk. She checked her weapon, switching it from lethal to stun setting. Ready? Frank put on his tactical helmet. Ready? Using maneuvering thrusters, Karen lined up their shuttle with the Zelkorian ship's emergency docking collar. With a gentle bump and hiss of connecting airlocks, they made contact. They'll know we're here now, Frank said. Karen smiled grimly. Good. The docking collar connected with a solid clunk. Karen punched in the override code Admiral Winters had provided. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then the airlock door slid open. Immediately they heard alarmed alien voices. Karen went in first, moving with the fluid grace of a trained infiltrator. Frank followed close behind, covering their rear. A Zelkorian soldier appeared at the end of the corridor, all 4, arms reaching for weapons. Karen fired twice. The stun bolts hit the alien in the center mass and it collapsed to the deck. One down, she whispered. They moved deeper into the ship. Around the corner, 2 more Zelkorians were setting up a defensive position. Frank signaled, to Karen holding up 2 fingers. She nodded, then rolled around the corner, firing with remarkable precision. Both aliens went down before they could get a shot off. 3 down, Frank said. The ship's internal alarm began to sound, a strange warbling noise that hurt their ears. The final 2 crew members were in the control room. Karen and Frank positioned themselves on either side of the door. Now, Karen said. Frank hit the door control. As it slid open, Karen tossed in a flashbang grenade. A brilliant light and deafening sound filled the control room. Karen moved in swiftly, stunning one disoriented alien. The last one, apparently, the captain, managed to fire back. The energy bolt missed Karen by inches. Frank entered the room and fired, striking the captain in the shoulder. The alien dropped its weapon and fell to its knees. Ship secure, Karen said, looking around the bridge. 5 crew, all subdued, 1 wounded. Frank immediately went to the injured captain, pulling medical supplies from his pack. Let me see. That wound, he said, approaching the alien carefully. The captain hissed in pain and confusion. You are human nurturers, it said in accented English. How did you defeat my security team? Karen kept her weapon trained on the alien while Frank examined its wounded shoulder. Where are the children you took from Earth? She demanded. The captain's 3 eyes widened. You are here for the research specimens? Impossible. You cannot be the progenitors. We're the parents, Frank corrected, applying a medical gel to the wound. And those specimens are our children. The alien looked from Frank's gentle medical care to Karen's steady weapon with confusion. But our intelligence said you were non-combatants, a movement educator and infant medical attendant. Karen smiled coldly. I'm a gym teacher now. Before that, I was a Marine Scout sniper with 27 confirmed kills. And I'm a pediatric nurse, Frank added, finishing the bandage on the alien's shoulder. After being an Army Ranger combat medic for 8 years, the captain seemed to deflate. The classification was wrong. You are not civilian nurturers at all. No, Karen said. We're parents. The captain's confusion only deepened. I do not understand. Are all human nurturers combat trained? No, Frank explained, checking the alien's vital signs on a small device. But many of us have multiple skills. Right now, all you need to know is where they're taking our children. The alien hesitated, then pointed to the navigation console. Research Station Proxima, in your solar system. The large vessel carrying the juveniles is already on approach. Karen accessed the console, downloading the coordinates into their shuttles. Navigation system. Thank you for your cooperation, she said to the captain. We'll leave you with enough supplies until your rescue comes. As they prepared to return to their shuttle, the captain called out, Wait, you fight well. For nurturers, but the station has an entire battalion of our best troops. You cannot hope to succeed. Frank looked back at the alien with quiet confidence. You still don't understand. There's nothing more dangerous in the universe than parents protecting their children. Karen nodded in agreement. And you're about to learn that the hard way. Research Station Proxima loomed large against the backdrop of space, a massive ring-shaped structure with dozens of ships docked along its outer edge. Karen guided their shuttle toward it, staying in the shadow of a larger supply vessel. That's a lot of security, Frank said, noting the patrol ships circling the station. How do we get in unnoticed? Karen pointed to a section of the station. Service entrance, supply ships dock there. Less security, more blind spots. Using the captured scout ship's identification codes, they approached the service dock. A voice crackled over the communication system in the alien language. Karen pressed a button, sending the pre-recorded response they had taken from the scout ship's captain. The docking bay doors opened, allowing them entry. They landed among various cargo vessels, their shuttle attracting little attention among the larger ships. We need disguises, Karen said. From their packs they pulled out the uniforms they had taken from the Zelkorian scouts. The many armed outfits were loose on their human frames, but with some adjustments they could pass a quick inspection. How do I look? Frank asked, his face partly hidden by the breathing apparatus that all Zelkorians wore in shared environments. Like an ugly alien, Karen replied with a small smile. These should get us past basic security, but they won't fool anyone up close. They stepped out of their shuttle, moving with purpose across the docking bay. A pair of dock workers glanced at them but quickly returned to their tasks. Karen and Frank walked deeper into the station, following the schematics Admiral Winters had provided. Research levels should be 3 sections down, Frank whispered. But we need higher clearance to access them. They rounded a corner and nearly bumped into a Zelkorian officer. The alien's 3 eyes widened slightly at their appearance. Identify yourselves and your purpose, the officer demanded. Frank stepped forward smoothly. Medical transport. We have samples from Earth for analysis. He held up a container he had prepared on the shuttle, filled with harmless human medical samples from his kit. The officer studied them suspiciously. I received no notice of a medical delivery. Emergency priority, Karen added. The samples are time-sensitive. Direct order from Fleet Command. The officer hesitated, then said, Your identification does not match your appearance. Remove your breathing apparatus. Frank and Karen exchanged a quick glance. They were discovered. In one smooth motion, Karen jabbed a small device against the officer's side. A soft buzz sounded and the alien collapsed. So much for the subtle approach, Frank said, dragging the unconscious officer into a nearby storage room. Take his clearance. Badge, Karen said. We need to move faster now. Using the officer's badge, they accessed the lift to the research levels. As the doors closed, Frank said, If they took 12 families' children, there must be at least 24 kids here. We'll get them all out, Karen said firmly. The lift opened onto a sterile white corridor. Signs in the alien language marked different research areas. Using a small translator device, Frank read them. This way, he said, pointing left. Section designated for Deathworld juvenile specimens. They moved cautiously down the corridor, passing various laboratories where alien scientists worked. Through one window, they saw something that made them pause. A young reptilian creature was being scanned while alien scientists took notes. They're not just studying human children, Frank whispered. There are other species here too. All from Deathworlds, Karen added, reading a nearby information panel. Planets with conditions the Confederacy considers dangerous, they continued, until they reached a large observation window. Beyond it was what looked like a school playground, but with strange equipment. Inside, about 30 children of various species played and interacted. Among them, Karen spotted Zoe supervising a group of younger children. There they are, she said, her voice tight with emotion. Noah and Lily are with her. Frank studied the security measures around the habitat. 2 guards at the entrance, electronic locks, observation cameras. We can handle that, Karen said, but we need a distraction to clear this area of scientists first. As if on cue, an alarm sounded in a distant part of the station. Many of the scientists hurried away to investigate. That's convenient, Frank said, raising an eyebrow. Karen grinned. That's our kids. Look. Through the window they could see Zoe giving a subtle thumbs up toward the camera. Somehow she had arranged a distraction. That's my girl, Karen said, proudly. Now let's get our children and get out of here. Frank nodded, checking his weapon. And after that, we teach these aliens a lesson about taking kids from their parents. With most of the scientists rushing to respond to the alarm, Karen and Frank approached the habitat entrance. The 2 guards stood at attention, their 4 arms holding various weapons and security devices. Halt, one guard commanded as they approached. This area is restricted during emergency protocols. Frank stepped forward, holding out the officer's security badge they had taken. Medical inspection, we need to check the specimen's health during the emergency. The guards looked uncertain. One of them studied the badge carefully. This authorization is for Science Division, not medical. Karen moved suddenly, striking the guard with precise force at what appeared to be a nerve cluster in the alien's neck. The guard collapsed instantly. Before the second guard could react, Frank had already disabled him with a similar strike. Nice move, Karen said, impressed. Frank shrugged. Learned it during the joint training exercises, works on their nervous system like a charm. They dragged the unconscious guards into a nearby storage closet, then used the security badge to unlock the habitat door. As it slid open, Zoe turned and saw her parents. Her eyes widened, but she maintained her composure. Don't everyone look at once, she whispered to the children around her. But our rescue just arrived. Karen moved quickly to her daughter, embracing her tightly. You okay? Zoe nodded. We're all fine. They just scan us and test our strength. Nothing painful. She looked at her mother with pride. I knew you'd come. Frank found Noah and Lily playing with a small group that included both human and alien children. Lily squealed with delight when she saw him and ran into his arms. Noah followed more calmly, but his relief was obvious. Dad, he said, there are other kids here too, not just from Earth. Frank nodded. We saw. We're going to help all of you. A small reptilian child approached cautiously. Are you warriors? The creature asked in broken English. They're our parents, Zoe explained. And yes, they used to be warriors. Karen gathered the children together. Listen carefully. We need to get all of you out of here, but we can't do it without your help. Frank examined a young alien child with green skin who appeared injured. What happened to you? He asked gently. The guards, the child explained. They punish us when we don't obey quickly enough. Frank's face hardened as he treated the child's injury with supplies from his medical kit. No one's going to hurt any of you again, he promised. Meanwhile, Karen had organized the children into small groups. Zoe, you lead the first group with the youngest kids. Noah, you're with the second group. Each human child partner with one alien child. Help them if they need it. What about the guards outside? Asked a boy named Eric. We've taken care of them, Karen assured him. But there will be more security between here and our ship. Suddenly, the station's intercom crackled to life. An urgent voice spoke in the alien language. Frank looked at Karen with concern. That doesn't sound good, he said. They've discovered the missing officer, Karen translated. And they know there are humans aboard. A small alien child with 4 arms tugged on Frank's uniform. The bad ones. Will come, the child said fearfully. The ones in red armor. Crimson Guard, Zoe explained. That's what the scientists call their elite soldiers. They say they're the best fighters in the galaxy. Karen checked her weapon. We'll see about that. Frank finished treating the injured children and distributed small communication devices to each group leader. Keep these with you. If we get separated, we can stay in contact. One of the older human children, a girl named Amy, approached Karen. "Most of us have parents in the military too," she said. "We want to help." Karen looked at the determined faces of the children around her. "You already have," she said. "Your distraction gave us time to reach you. Now we need to work together to escape." An alarm blared throughout the station, followed by the sound of heavy doors closing. "They're locking down the station," Frank warned. Karen's expression was resolute. "Then we'll have to fight our way out." Zoe stepped forward. "We're ready, Mom." Frank opened the habitat door cautiously, checking the corridor. "Clear for now, but not for long." Karen addressed the children one last time before they moved out. "Stay close. Do exactly as we say. And remember, we're all getting home, all of us." The first group of children followed Zoe into the corridor, with Karen and Frank taking point and rear guard, ready to face whatever came next. The corridor ahead suddenly flooded with red light as emergency sirens wailed throughout the station. Frank led the first group of children, with Zoe helping guide the younger ones. Karen took up the rear position, her weapon ready. "Security, checkpoint ahead," Frank warned over his shoulder. 3 Zelkorian guards blocked their path, weapons drawn. They appeared startled to see the mixed group of human and alien children approaching. "Return the specimens to containment immediately," one ordered. Karen stepped forward. "These are not specimens, they're children." The guard raised his weapon. "Stand down, human. The Crimson Guard is already on its way." Instead of responding, Karen moved with lightning speed. She fired 2 stun shots, disabling 2 guards, then closed the distance to the third before he could react. A swift strike to his midsection doubled him over, and a second blow to the neck rendered him unconscious. "Clear," she called out. The children stared in awe at how quickly she had neutralized the threat. "My mom was the fastest in her unit," Zoe explained proudly to the alien children. They continued down the corridor until they reached a junction. Frank consulted the station map they had memorized. "Docking bay is 2 levels down," he said. "But the main lifts will be locked down now." "Service tunnels," Karen suggested, pointing to a small access panel in the wall. Frank pried it open, revealing a narrow maintenance shaft. "It'll be tight, but we can make it." One by one, the children entered the shaft. Frank went first to lead the way, with Karen bringing up the rear. The alien children seemed especially good at navigating the tight space, their bodies more flexible than the humans. Halfway to their destination, they heard sounds of pursuit, the heavy thud of armored boots in the corridors above. "Crimson Guard," whispered an alien child fearfully. They emerged from the service tunnel into a storage area. Frank quickly counted the children to make sure they were all present. "Everyone stay low," Karen instructed. "We're close to the docking bay." Just as they prepared to move again, the door to the storage area slid open. 6 soldiers in gleaming red armor entered, weapons trained on the group. Their helmets concealed their faces, but their posture radiated confidence and threat. "Elite. Crimson Guard," one announced. "Surrender the specimens and your lives will be spared." Frank moved in front of the children protectively. "They're not going anywhere with you." The lead guard seemed amused. "You are just 2 humans. We are the finest warriors in the Galactic Confederacy." Karen's expression hardened. "You're soldiers. We're parents, there's a difference." Without warning, she fired at the ceiling lighting, plunging the room into darkness. The Crimson Guard's helmets adjusted quickly, but those precious seconds were all Karen needed. She rolled to the side, firing with precision at the joints in their armor, knowledge from her time training with alien allies. 2 guards went down before they could respond. Frank, meanwhile, had pushed the children behind storage containers and joined the fight. He threw a small device that erupted in a blinding flash, specifically calibrated to overload the guards' helmet sensors. The remaining 4 guards fired wildly, their shots going wide as they struggled to see. Karen moved among them like a shadow, disabling one after another with precisely placed shots and strikes. Frank tackled one guard who got too close to the children, using the alien's own momentum to throw him against the wall. Within 30 seconds, all 6 elite guards lay incapacitated. "Is everyone okay?" Frank asked, checking the children. They nodded, eyes wide with amazement. How did you do that? Asked a small alien child. They are the best warriors. My mom and dad trained to protect people, Zoe explained, not just to fight. The station commander's voice boomed over the intercom. Attention, human intruders. You have defeated my guards, which is unexpected, but you cannot escape. The entire docking bay is surrounded. Surrender now. Karen retrieved a communication device from one of the fallen guards. This is Karen Mitchell. We're leaving with these children and you're not going to stop us. There was a pause before the commander responded. You speak with great confidence for someone in your position. Perhaps we should meet face to face before more blood is shed. Frank and Karen exchanged looks. Could be a trap, Frank whispered. Definitely a trap, Karen agreed. But we need time to get the shuttle ready. She activated the communication device again. Very well, Commander. Where shall we meet? Docking bay control room, came the reply. I am most curious to meet the humans who bested my finest troops. As they moved toward the docking bay, Noah tugged on his father's sleeve. Are we really going to meet the commander? Frank smiled. Yes, but not the way he thinks. Karen and Frank approached the docking bay control room with weapons ready. The children waited hidden nearby, with Zoe in charge of keeping everyone quiet and safe. Remember the plan, Karen whispered to Frank. I'll keep the commander talking while you prep the shuttle. Frank nodded. Be careful. We don't know what else they might have waiting. The control room door slid open. Inside stood a tall Zelkorian with elaborate armor and facial markings that indicated high rank. 4 armed guards flanked him. The commander's 3 eyes widened slightly at the sight of the 2 humans. So, he said in perfect English, these are the nurturers who defeated my Crimson Guard. Fascinating. Karen kept her weapon lowered but ready. Commander, we don't want further conflict. We're taking the children home, all of them. The alien commander studied them with genuine curiosity. You continue to surprise me. Our intelligence indicated you were simple civilian caregivers, a physical education instructor, and a medical attendant for juveniles. We are, Frank said. I'm a pediatric nurse. Karen teaches gym. Impossible, the commander replied. No civilian could defeat elite military units. Karen stepped closer. That's where you made your mistake. On Earth, many of us have multiple skills. We were military before we were parents. While Karen kept the commander engaged, Frank slowly moved toward the control panel that would open the main docking bay doors. The commander noticed Frank's movement, but seemed more interested. In Karen, you were a warrior before becoming a nurturer. This challenges our understanding of human society. We're not just one thing, Karen explained. I was a Marine, a sniper with special operations experience. Frank was a Ranger combat medic. Now, we're parents, and that makes us more dangerous, not less. The commander made a gesture, and his guards tensed. An interesting perspective. On our world, roles are fixed. Warriors remain warriors. Nurturers remain nurturers. Frank reached the control panel and quickly entered the sequence to prepare their shuttle for launch. Perhaps that's why you didn't understand what would happen when you took our children, Karen continued. For humans, being a parent doesn't make us weaker. It gives us something worth fighting for. A sudden commotion outside interrupted them. The door burst open, and Zoe appeared looking alarmed. Mom, more guards are coming, lots of them. The commander raised all 4 of his arms in what appeared to be triumph. You see, your tactical advantage is lost. Surrender now. To his surprise, Karen smiled. Actually, that was part of the plan. Frank hit the final button on the control panel. Alarms blared as docking bay doors began opening throughout the station. On multiple security screens, they could see the children already boarding their shuttle, guided by Noah and the older kids. You were never our primary objective, Commander, Frank explained. You were the distraction. Karen backed toward the exit, keeping her weapon trained on the stunned aliens. We've also unlocked all the docking bay doors. Every ship can leave now. The commander's face showed a mix of anger and reluctant respect. Clever. But you cannot escape the entire Confederacy. We will pursue you. I wouldn't recommend that, Karen said. When we return to Earth, we'll reveal everything about your operations. How do you think other Deathworld species will react when they learn you've been abducting their children? The commander hesitated, calculation evident in his expression. One more thing, Frank added. Our leaders know everything now. Next time, they'll send soldiers, not parents. Consider how much damage just the two of us did. They backed out of the control room, leaving the commander deep in thought. Seconds later, they sprinted to their waiting shuttle where all the children were safely aboard. Everyone ready? Karen asked as she took the pilot's seat. Zoe nodded. All present and accounted for, Mom. As the shuttle lifted off, they saw other ships also escaping, vessels from other worlds whose children had been taken. Look. Noah pointed at the command deck of the station. The commander stood watching them leave. He made no move to stop them. As they accelerated away from the station, Frank put his arm around Karen. We did it. Of course we did, she replied with a tired smile. We're parents. In the rear of the shuttle, the alien children watched with fascination as Earth came into view, a blue-green jewel against the blackness of space. What will happen to us? One small alien asked Lily. She patted the creature's arm confidently. You'll stay with us until we find your parents. My mom and dad take care of everyone. 2 weeks later, at the Mitchell home in Ohio, Karen watered the garden while Frank cooked dinner. Their house was temporarily home to 3 alien children, whose parents were en route to Earth for a reunion. Admiral Winters sat at their kitchen table reviewing reports. The Galactic Confederacy has officially reclassified Earth. We're no longer just a death world. Now we're listed as Death World with exceptional parental defense capabilities. Karen laughed. They still don't get it, do they? Not entirely, the Admiral replied. But they're learning. They've requested human advisors for their diplomatic corps. Specifically, they asked for you two. Frank looked up from the stove. Us? Why? Because you taught them something important, Winters said. In their culture, nurturers are just nurturers. Warriors are just warriors. You showed them there's another way. Outside, human and alien children played together under the setting. Sun, a first small step toward a new understanding between worlds.